Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Advancing Consciousness series. And today we're looking at episode 64. And again, the topic is very key to what's going on right now, personally for everyone, and also in the big scape of this beautiful game that we are playing on this planet. So today we have come together to really go into the mechanics of what's going on, because there's other layers, and I know we've talked about various things along the way to give us a little clearer insight of how things work, but we're going to look at it a little closer so that we could use this to better navigate through this journey. Our introduction, of course, has been a little different again. I'll have to get my techie guy to look at our computer because it's not functioning the way it was before, so we're having a few challenges. That's why we've been coming on very quietly. If you're new to this, please subscribe, follow, comment, and share with everybody. In the description, we have various things for you to be able to access at this point in time, and to also support the work as you feel guided within. So let's get started. Let's get to play. And today we're looking at, what are you giving life to? You know, you could ask the question, what does that mean, give life to? Well, it's very instrumental to know that we are the ones that are giving life to our reality, life to ourselves. Now, many of us have gotten so deep into the game of life in its invertedness, in its state of just surviving, we stepped out of the capacity to live, to be fully that life force. But that does not negate that we are giving life to all components of this experience. So what we want to look at today is, how are we giving life to realities, where our energy, our focus, and what we're using as part of our creation and also part of our reflection in our current journey. Now, as we understand and as we observe around us, you can, and especially depending on how sensitive you are to picking up the energies, you know that there's a lot of powerful energies coming through. A lot of times that stirs up not only our own energies within ourselves, which can play out things that may feel very uncomfortable, but also the feedback from a collective space. We're having a lot of that energy kick back only in its presence, so we can move through it. So as much as the frequencies that are coming in are very high frequency, not only from the planet, from the sun, from the galaxy, from our solar system, from all of the different components of ourselves in the field of sourceness, which is the field not only of sourceness, but us as being the spirit of sourceness, which is the creator, the creation and its creation. So it's the creator, the creation, and the observer of creation. Now, when we're talking about giving life to something, wherever we put our attention, whatever energy we may be focusing towards, or the vibrational frequency that we are operating with it, will activate all of the multiple layers that still exist in our personal reality and our collective reality. So, in essence, if you are focusing on, say, something that you have experienced in the past, and when I say focusing, it comes into your memory, you're noticing it, you're feeling it, but you're also kind of living through it, not only emotionally, energetically, but you almost see yourself part of that. And even if you're not envisioning it, the vision part of it still exists within yourself. The moment you do that, you're giving life to that old experience. You're giving life to you of that older version of yourself in a different evolved state of that time. So it becomes real. So you're giving life and realism to that older reality, that older experience. So that's one facet of it. The other facet of it is if we're also playing with other individuals around us as we engage in the dance and we start to play that particular game, we are creating a synchronization of not only frequency, but it also becomes a reality within yourself. So it encodes within yourself, looking for that older version of yourself. And not only does it come to the surface, you adopt or adapt to that frequency. And what you're doing, you're giving life to that older version of yourself in, say, a friendship, a relationship, a family dynamics, or even work environment, and so forth. So then it becomes real to you, but it's not, doesn't stop at only just feeling and seeming real. It becomes part of you. You actually create a shift in your vibration, even how your body communicates with every cell, how you communicate not only with your body, with your soul, with your human entity, even the way you use your mind changes. Because you're giving life and you're replicating all parts of it. You're bringing everything to that alignment. And not only that, what you're also doing in that state is you're also accessing from the field of memory what was emanated or what was shared through that experience to actually be realigned and coming back as a response to you. So in fact, your space shapes accordingly because of that. So when you will notice, if you pay attention, say, let's take a family dynamics just as an example here. When you go to meet up, say, with family, and you now you start to make real that family. You give life to whatever the family or the playmates within the family are playing at. And the moment you connect with that and you start to engage at that level, you now are going through that transformational process within yourself. Now, the transformation may be temporary at this point, but in most cases it becomes another layer that you need to dissolve at some point because it's still very prevalent for you. So as you're engaging with them, you're reenacting every part of it, but you're giving life through that version of you that may have dealt with them for a very long time or have engaged in that. But at the same time, while you're doing that, there's an exchange going on. That exchange is going with all the playmates. Could be your parents, could be family, siblings, you name it. Could be anybody at this point. You're creating a feedback. And that feedback is actually encoding you to a certain degree, as temporary as it may be, and it can be also adhered to a longer term. That feedback is giving you a response that you are creating an alignment with. So what you're doing is your reality and everything that was involved in that reality is now reshaping itself, because a lot of us have memories of that reality. So it's a matter of, at this point, to realize that we give life wherever we are, and the moment you give it life, you give it realism, it actually, you now shape to that, and your reality and you are merged in a sense. There's a dance, there's a movie that is established, and it can involve a lot of other playmates. So right now, as we are choosing to move forward, our focus in our highest state is to give life to the highest version of ourselves. So yes, connecting in the moment is very beneficial, but to also notice in the moment what is presenting for you, what is showing up in your mind's eye, what is showing up in how you are feeling. And this is why you want to spend quality time to clean that up, or to observe it, of course, appreciate it, love it, and then let that part go. Because while you're playing that game, while you're having in that moment, because the moment is, yes, you're in your most powerful state. However, whatever is presenting for you in the moment, whatever you're engaged in the moment, whatever you're focusing in the moment is made real and is given life. Then what happens? Then your reality shapes and molds around that to reflect that, to be able to, it's like you're creating the projection and you want to see the projection, you want to experience the projection. So if you're in a lower state, for example, and you have certain fears and you're concerned about something and you're in the worry, in that moment, you're in the worry. And the only reason you would have the worry in that moment is because somehow you brought in, or you're still allowing certain stories, programs, belief systems, and so forth to be present in that moment. And in that moment, you notice if your mind is drifting in the past or the future, and you present yourself in the moment, but to observe what is the main focus of that moment. And that will indicate what's still active and where your focus is, and gives you the opportunity to have the choice to not only accept what's there in its appreciation, but to also be able to decide, feeling from within, if it actually serves, so you can move that go. Because as you do that, as you release that part of it, let it go, then you're changing. So your moment becomes more enriched in your current highest state. And that's where the difference comes in. So when we're looking at what we're giving life to, okay, it also extends right now. Say we're talking, like I was saying, in the moment. One of the things that becomes tricky is, when we're in the moment, is that if we have been exposed to many other resources, and when I say many other resources, through, yes, whatever engagements that you had, and you've created a pattern of shifting accordingly and giving life, realism, and shaping that reality, that in that moment, when you're going into the moment, you're bringing snippets of that which can, at that point, be utilized in such a fashion. However, we also have to understand that, whatever we're exposed to other resources like the media, what we are watching and where we're putting our interest in will very much so play a role. So if you are, just to pay attention, if you're watching, say, a news cast of something, a news bulletin, whatever it is, or you're watching stuff on YouTube or Facebook, whatever, where there's all of this content coming up about what's happening in around the world, and you're allowing yourself to accept that, or to observe that, and to be able to synchronize with that. What you're doing is you're making that reality real. You're giving life to that reality. The moment you feel that that is happening, because the thing is, whatever presents for you, and I want to make this clear, whatever presents for you means nothing, has no value, has no realism. Whatever is presented to you, until you connect with it and you now activate it as real, you're giving it life. So it's like a script. You can write a script. You can have content of some sort to make your movie. Until you take the script and use the script and you film the movie, it does not become a movie. Until you accept the script that is being presented, say, through the media, and you now connect with that energy, connect with that so-called projected option of realism, and you give it life, now it becomes real. It becomes real to the degree that we're going to experience that reality. What does it do? It actually supports and shifts the way you will see the world because of that content coming in. Now you are projecting that. Even if you think you're not, to a certain level you are. And of course you're going to notice it, especially if you're observing. And what you're going to see is that whatever you're exposed to and you put your focus on, you put your attention to the point where it becomes real to you, that's the process of giving it life, and that life communicates to you. That life, it's just basically your movie. So it is an optional movie that we have to illuminate and bring in as part of our reality. So even being in the moment, if all of that is there, then in that moment, especially when we've been talking about being yourself, activating your creatability, or your opportunity to create, from manifestation to creating. So if you're putting focus on what you're watching, I'm just giving you these examples here. If you're putting focus and a certain level of realism, because you're the only one that can do it, no one else can. It doesn't matter if 10 people say to you or 1,000 people say, that's real, this is what's happening, okay? And it's not a denial that that does not exist in its reality of whatever it is, but it is not real to you. It's not your movie that you are utilizing. You're not going to give it life. I'm not giving life to that. I'm not bringing it into my reality. It's not denial. It's like you have the freedom of choice, the freedom of what we call free will, whatever. Do I engage or not? So by not putting your attention there, then at this point, you can use your creativity better. Now, if you're using any of that, then you go from creator, which is always going to be creator, but you shift your creative ability to manifestation. Because what are you doing? You're manifesting in your life movie, what is being projected to you, what is being shown to you, what is happening. So now it's like the example I had given in other episodes, where you are now going into manifestation. So you're bringing into your reality what already has been created. Now, we have to understand that all of the stuff that's streaming, as much as it seems extremely real to us, we have to understand it does not become real until we internalize it. So that means the movies are all over the place. It's like going to a cinema and you've got 40 movies, for example, running at the same time. You go to one of these cineplexes or whatever it's called, and you have all of these movies running. None of those movies mean anything. They're just running. You're not affected by it. You're not engaging with the movie until you walk into one of the theaters. Once you walk into the theater, you sit down in the theater and you merge with whatever's being shown there, it starts to shift you. It starts to become that part of the movie. You're encoding that movie in yourself and you start to experience it. But while you're outside of that, you're not. Now, when you step out of that movie and you're standing in the hallway and there's still 40 movies running, the imprint of that movie, if you see it as just the movie and you're not putting focus on that anymore, then you're back to the same state where you have the option, but it's your choice. You were going to say something?
Questions.
Yes.
Angela's asking, how does this apply to health issues? Pain makes you worry.
Yes, that's a good one, because I was going to cover that, but that's perfect. Okay, when it comes to our physical experience, okay, if we are programmed to a certain degree at this point, everybody to some degree or another, some very deeply and some have been deprogrammed. So if you're going to have a sensorial symptom of some sort where you're feeling, say, pain, for example, you're feeling pain, okay? until you give realism, power, and focus on that pain and activate a story about it, because a worry will not exist unless there's an applied story. The story says, oh, this can mean that. I could mean cancer. It could mean, injury, or something's wrong with me, or something of that nature. So I'm not saying deny the pain, observe it, allow it to be what it is, but also notice that you're not going to make it real, whatever story is coming up. And also at the same time, you're not going to make it real so that it takes over. Because what happens is people will have various ailments or whatever you want to call it in their experience of life. And while they're doing that, we have adopted some ideas to be concerned about anything that plays out, because it always leads to something else. So what we're doing is giving a life to, say, pain, life to a symptom, life to whatever. So I'm not saying you do not address it, but at the same time, you're not going to make it real. You're not going to give it so much life, because what happens is, if you're not choosing to give it life, it cannot continue to expand and grow. The thing is, we have been conditioned, if you have this, it means all of this, and it starts to expand. So in that respect of the physical part, the key is not to put focus or even the attention to say, what is it and whatever else. Now, if it is presenting and you want to get it checked, that's fine. And I'm suggesting you do that if you feel guided to do so. But at the same time, it doesn't matter what the results are, it does not impact and take over you in one way or another unless you make it real. You give it life. So somebody says to you, oh, you've got this ailment. It cannot flourish, grow, okay, without you making it real, giving it life. Now, some people say, well, I'm in denial, I don't want to accept it. But the thing is, a part is denying, but the other part is doing what? The other part is giving realism to it. And it's giving a lot more of whatever is playing out. So when we understand that, how can I say it? It cannot grow, it cannot shape in any form if we are not focused on it. So, okay, what's the message here? What do I need to look at? What needs to adjust within myself? Because this is just a cue of attention that needs to be focused. Not a worry, not to make it real in the sense or give it more life. Because look at it this way. Some people have gotten a diagnosis of it. Can you make sure we don't peak? Because
Someone just asked me to raise the mic.
okay. It's just that what happens is then it starts to clip and it sounds weird. Okay. So okay. All right. Yeah, we just don't want to keep it below the 10, I guess, or just around that. You can go up to 10, but not to especially when I speak louder. Okay. Yeah, we're trying to make sure the audio is okay, because sometimes I've noticed the recordings seem to clip higher up. Anyways, what was I saying? Something about the body. Okay, yes. So when we're talking about the physical part, people get a diagnosis of some sort and it says, okay, you have, say, cancer or something of that nature. Well, there's so much programming that cancer leads to compromisation, to body destruction, to potential major suffering, to death. Okay? So you're looking at it, and then of course you start focusing in it. What you're doing is you're giving it life. So it starts to grow. It starts to grow over more and more. It starts to take more of the physicality. So even if you received a diagnosis of that nature, which is fine, then at that point you say, okay, great. This is a message for me. Now, the tool can be used two ways. If you are choosing to leave with it, yeah, that's the option too. But in most cases, it's an option where you say, okay, I need to look at what's going on in my life, and so that I can shift away from giving life to this to see where life wants to go. Okay? Many people are not living their life, not giving life to life or their experience, and then focusing on different facets of whatever's playing out, and including when it comes to an ailment of sorts that you may have. And then you're shifting into that. So your life now becomes whatever that may be. So you need to look at it and say, okay, where am I not being aligned with my life? What am I still bringing in from the past or something of that nature? Where am I putting my concern? So you want to really explore and look at what is wanting your attention. It may be even adjusting how you've been living life or engaging with your body. It may be saying, hey, we need to make some adjustments. That's fine. But the adjustments is so that you are aligning with the energies and aligning with your higher aspect of yourself that's emerging from you, rather than playing with all of that other stuff that does not match. Because many of us have gone without realizing in self-destruct mode. And self-destruct meaning you kind of loathe and not liking what your experience is, and you're just putting in time hoping that things are going to change. Well, what you're going to do is you're going to create something to shift your attention to say, okay, now I really got to pay attention, and I got to look at what I need to adjust. Because there are people, many people, that have had various intense ailments of sorts, and then once they actually reviewed their life and made adjustments, things shifted for them. And in many cases, it shifts so profoundly that it doesn't even show any signs that it even existed in the first place. So this is the thing. We're the only one to give life to anything. It doesn't matter what's offering. So if somebody says, you have this, okay? It's not about denial and say, oh, okay, great. Now I need to look at what it's presenting for me. What is telling me? What is the message here? What is my body, my higher self, wanting to say? So this is where pen and paper and quiet time becomes very valuable for you to really look at what needs to adjust, and also to notice where your focus is going. If you're concerned about ailments, or you're concerned about what's going on in the world, what's going on in any part of your family dynamics or work environment and so forth, then those become part of the construct. And if it's a bit of an overload and it's off alignment, which many people get off, then it would be a tool that you use within yourself to be able to kind of stir up things so that we pay attention and shift. Were you going to say something else with the other question? Yeah. Okay.
So the other question is from Marita. What happens when you are purging? Old stuff comes up to be released, all that. At that point, we give it attention, but it's brief. Are we releasing it or retreating it?
Well, if things are coming up for you, you do want to pay attention, because the attention is when you're paying attention to it, when you put your focus on that, or when I say pay attention to what's playing out, then you can see the whole thing. You can see what's there, write it out, of course. And then at that point, when you're seeing what's going there, you acknowledge its presence. You acknowledge whatever that may be, and any associated stories, programs, belief systems that support it, or any other older modalities. So once you've acknowledged it and have appreciation for it, then you can go through the process of sending it love and letting it go. Okay? So, but if it becomes your main focus that you keep going there, then you want to pay attention. What is my motive of going there all the time and hanging on to this? Because there may be other layers. Of course, do this in writing so that you can write it out and follow through with it, and then ask yourself the questions that you require. So it's not about denial or anything. It's really seeing how much energy and focus and realism you apply to anything that's playing out. Now, you're going to have traumatic situations that may play out from from the past that may be showing up. Now, when that was experienced, it got labeled and defined as traumatic, as something bad, the polarized version of observation. So even that coming up to that point, right now, it's not the same because it's not happening now. But if we still have all that label, so you want to acknowledge it's present. Okay, great. That was my old experience. I have emotions attached to it and whatever else. And you want to give yourself the opportunity to feel it and so forth. But at the same time, look at it and say, okay, how does it serve me now? Does it still serve me? Am I ready to let it go? So first of all is to acknowledge it, to appreciate it, to love it, and then you can let it go easier. Now, when you apply appreciation, you're shifting the energy that it once occurred, when it was designed or when it came into play. Because what happens at that time, you may have been in a victim state. Maybe in that time you were at a very lower vibration, okay? And you may have had judgment of whatever may happen. Or you may have felt that somehow this had more power over you, whatever that may be. However, when you're acknowledging it and then you appreciate what? You're appreciating the dance. You're appreciating the experience. You're appreciating what it presented for you at that time. And be in a state of love for that creation. Because that was a creation from before. That was something that provided a certain series of experiences and may have provided various adjustments within yourself. Could have been unfinished business, whatever it is from previous lives before that or earlier in your life stream or whatever that may be. Or it actually even played a role for other participants that were involved at the time. But right now, where you are now, that is no longer something that you have to give life to. I know some people get caught up in the fact, this happened to me, and they keep bringing that in. And what happens is every time they focus on it and they get connected with the emotional charge or whatever it is at that point in time, and they're doing that as a pattern, then what are they doing? They're giving it life, and that life feeds back to you now. And it alters your capacities to move beyond it. It alters your capacities to experience anything outside of that. So this is why whatever's been experienced in the past, okay, were just sequence of experiences. There is no right, there is no wrong, there is no good, there is no bad, there's no mistakes. This is important. Write that down. There are no mistakes. There's no good or bad about it. From a higher perspective, from your soul, you can connect to yourself from a deeper, you will know it was just an experience that was created in the polarity realm of that time. And it was important for you to do that. This is the only reason you brought it forth. But to have any of that stuff coming up right now, you say, okay, if it's showing up, I need to address it, acknowledge it, thank it, love it, let it go. And the reason I say thank it and love it is because you dissolve all the attachments to it. You dissolve the vibrational frequency, because love is very high frequency. Love is creator frequency. Love is source frequency in its higher state. And then the lower state stuff, when you really truly love the experience and the individuals involved. So it's not about going to forgive anybody. It's about first acknowledging the role that they played, appreciate the role that they played because it was a difficult role for them to play, but then love them for playing that role, because that role provided you a certain sequence of experience, and whatever role you played back while that was, it provided for them. And now it's so much easier to dissolve it, because if you look at your life as a sequence of movie screenshots as you're going through life, the movie progresses. If you go watch a movie, okay, at the theater or even on your television set, computer, wherever you're watching it, it has a sequence of movement and it has a sequence of experiences and so forth. But the movie is always moving. There's always a next stage as you're going along while you're watching the movie. You could say, okay, well, I'm going to pay attention to what played before, but really, if you want to follow the movie, you're going to have to watch it as it unfolds, as it plays. And that is your life. Your life is the same. You just watch as you're playing. Right now, you're here. Whatever played before, we're just stepping stones, whatever you want to call it, different stages you went through. Now, did you have to have those experiences to pay the price to be where you are today? Not at all. Never, ever is that the case. Is it, a ritual of receiving the rights to be where you are today? No. Those were just experiences, just opportunities for growth, enlightenment, expansion, completion, whatever it may have been. But the thing is, you're right here. So if you give life to, you're here, and you're giving life to you, the true you, then what is within you starts to emanate, and then everything around you changes. Because nothing is real until you make it real. Nothing is alive in an enriched state to experience until you give it that. But you're the one that puts the focus. Now, let me share something else for you. We are going through upgrades. We are going through frequency increases. We're getting new codes within ourselves. We're reactivating our DNA. We're actually making adjustments within our chakra connections. We are also establishing new relationships with our environment, our playground, and our higher state of being. Now, the thing is, for you to be able to continue moving forward, which is our greatest desire, because that is your essence of what you chose here to come and do, then by allowing all of those energies just to be there and to create the changes is going to keep you moving a lot faster. Now, of course, while that's happening, older memories, stored emotions and other, adopted ideas and so forth are going to come to the surface. But to realize that they're just showing up so that you can acknowledge them, thank them, love them, and let them go. Because the thing is, a lot of people say, well, how can I advance forward in a powerful way? How can I not impede on my growth and expansion? Pay attention to where your focus is going and what you're giving life to. If you're giving life, renewed life to the older version of you, to what is happening around in the world and so forth, then it will slow down the process. But not only slow down the process, as the energies continue to increase, it's going to be very difficult to do that. Even if there's a part of you, like the ego, who would like to go and play there, then it's going to become even more uncomfortable, because the thing is, there's going to be a clashing of sorts. Clashing is higher vibration and a lower pull. So there's a big, powerful, not only a contradiction to it, but it's also trying to extend itself and going, okay, where do I go here because of that? So the thing is, this is why it's important for ourselves to be ourselves and to really connect with ourselves and give life to what is projecting through you. You want to be, you are to be here to emanate that essence within you. So you're giving a life to you that actually shows up in the screen of life. Now, we have to understand, there are many, 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 many layers of this movie in our screen. Okay? So what we look at, the world, we have many layers of it. They will play accordingly. And what I mean by that, say there's 1,000 people in a certain environment or a certain area. You will only see the people you need to see, because the rest of them are not going to be in your screen. Now, at the same time, say the 1,000 people are there, you're going to see 1,000 of the version that best serves and assists you. Because what happens is, you give life, you shine the light to the individuals based on your frequency of that time, based on your consciousness of that time, which of those 1,000 people's version you will see. And the only reason you see those 1,000 versions versus the other 1,000 versions or the hundreds of thousands of versions is because those 1,000 versions of them is the closest matching. And when I say matching, it means that it's the most of service to you to provide you that particular experience, whatever that may be, and they will be part of your construct. If you look at it, there's so much going on all over the world. Okay? You are where you are. Why are you where you are? Because that is the environment or that section of the movie that you're choosing to participate in. Several reasons for that. One is that you're not going to be where it doesn't match, first of all. So you're not going to be in that energy, because the thing is, you have to understand wherever you are on the world, whatever connections are made in clusters, you're now tapping into the energies that are created in those areas. Now you could say, well, I'm in a low vibrational frequency state or whatever it is that's around me, but that you're there. You will know when you no longer need to be there. It's not about running away. It's about feeling I'm misaligned here and it's time to move on. But why are you there? Well, it's the best opportunity. So remember the analogy, okay? Time to start drawing here. For anybody that doesn't know, I'm a stickman person because I'm not an artist. I may be able to do a lot of things, but not that, not drawing. Okay, so what was I saying? Everywhere you go, you got multiple screens. Let's go back to that example. Each of these screens has 1,000 people in there, for example, just to keep it consistent. You're looking, and what you're going to see, depending on your vibration and frequency, will govern which of these layers of movie you will see. And not only see, say you're seeing this one, this is the one that's going to give you a response. That means that's the one that you're going to see and will give you some form of feedback that is best suited for you at that time. It's going to serve you to create a shift within yourself, whatever that may be required for you. So that's the one that you're going to interact with. But as your vibration changes, you may see a different version. Now, to take it even one step further, these movies will exist all over the place. It's like that, back to that example of being in a movie theater, okay? And you have 40 different movies running at the same time, but each one are in a separate cinema. So let's take those cinemas as a part of the world that you go into. That's the first part, wherever you are. Now, the observers of that movie, for example, you step into movie number 3, okay, out of the 40, you're going into number 3. You're now not only watching that movie, you're also sensing the energy of other people that are watching the movie. You also may create a connection to the energies that are coming off the movie of the role players, which actually gives you a certain experience. Could be thrilling, could be whatever it provides you. Okay? So each part of the world is another movie. And each part of the world that you're in, okay, gives you a certain experience. But it doesn't stop with just the world. We're talking about part. So you can be in a certain country, you can be in a segment of the country, you can be at different areas, or you can be, how can I say it? In different communities, for example. Okay? So each time you go into any of that, there's a new set of movies available. There's the big main frame of the movie, but there are segments of the movies where different actors are involved, different energies are involved. Now, you go play say with your family dynamics, you go to a gathering, okay, depending on how you're choosing or how you feel about that time, that's the version of the movie interaction that you may have with the family. Could be 1, 2, 3, could be any of them. They could be 10, 20, 100 versions of them, versions of that movie, because you're stepping into the movie and you're the one that's actually adjusting. Now, if you go into the movie and you say you're watching this, you're just watching it, but you're just seeing it and you're giving yourself the opportunity. Now, if you synchronize with this, which a lot of people end up doing, we all do to some degree, and you start playing at that level, then this movie versus all of this is given life, and it becomes your reflection. And then what happens is you align energetically, consciously, and also the interactions of whatever is playing out. So we have many, many, many different movies that are playing out. However, when you are yourself, so let's back up a little bit. So what I said is that you're going to be wherever the environment best suits you. I know some people say, well, I want to go home, I want to go back to my other planet, wherever you come from, because some of you may have a glimpse of that life. But that's saying, well, I want to go back into the other movie, but right now, why did you walk into that movie? Why are you here? Why are you doing whatever you're doing? It's because that's the movie that best suits you at this time. And so I said, okay, so you're focusing on this. Now the second factor is this movie, if you're synchronizing with this movie, what is offered there is for you to contribute. It's not that you're going to fix the movie. You're holding a certain energy that is actually enhancing it or creating a adjustment. At least the energies are offering that, so that this movie here can upgrade. So, like back to the example, if you're any part of the world right now, not only are you there because you're receiving whatever serves you at that point in time, you're also sharing, you're contributing, you're actually holding various spaces. And this is where, wherever you are, you can observe, but you give life to you that actually changes that screen. So if you're focusing on you, your vibration and understanding and clarity, then what happens, you're creating a catalyst for change or modification. But you're not going in there with that intent. You're going in there being you. Okay? Because the you part, the part that emanates the highest aspect of yourself, is the most powerful and instrumental part. And this applies to all over in whatever we're talking about, you know, families, work, friendships, you know, intimate relationships, or whatever you want to call it. That is still the same. So even if there's only two individuals involved in the dance, you know, you can say, okay, here's my partner, and I have to take on their reality, part of their movie, and I'm going to give life to that and base my life around that. That's one way to do it, which has been the old way. But now it's like, well, we're in each other's lives to be ourselves. So you're basically now giving life to you, and let the dance between each partner giving life to themselves, which will come together to play together to whatever degree it serves, rather than any compromisation. Go ahead.
Okay, Donatella is asking, in shamanic practices, a lot of focus is put on the so-called cutting cords practices, meaning all links with people, even if they have not been part of your life for a long time anymore, but supposedly still live inside you emotionally. I'd love to know your perspective about the need of these or other practical practices to be more free on the emotional level.
Okay. Well, for you to have any so-called ties to emotional levels, to any emotions or ties to other people, the only way that it exists is that we have to keep renewing that. So that means that it's still, there's a focus or there's an imprint in there at that point. So it's really when you go through the process of recognizing these individuals in your life and whatever was experienced by it, say so-called emotions or anything of that nature, just the recognition and having the appreciation and love for it, then you're letting it free. Then what you're doing is you allowing that to dissolve, because it no longer serves. It's no longer a requirement. The thing is, the only reason it's there is to show that we're still entangled or tied or giving value or power to whatever that may have represented at that time. So the process of, say, cutting the cords is really, in the sense of let that go, okay? So what are you doing, for example? There's you. And then there's somebody else there. So the so-called cord that we're talking about here, this is a connection where you feel that you still have to interact or there's unfinished business about it. So they keep presenting for you and you keep shaping around it. Or at times what happens, this cord is established when we've created an emotional attachment to either the individual or the emotional attachment to the experience. Could have been traumatic or otherwise. The moment you see them, another facet of you, and acknowledge the role that's been played, and you thank them for the role, even if you don't actually speak to them, you're thanking them through your own self to them, and have a great appreciation and love for it, then this role is no longer required, or it will totally change in a different fashion. So this will dissolve automatically. It's not really a required process, but the process is to cut this cord or to let go of this cord is to go in through that process. You have to understand, if a cord exists, okay, then the purpose of that connection has not been achieved yet or completed. Attachments to it, in the sense, I got to get my righteousness, or I got to get things resolved, or somehow I need to be understood or something like that, then that cord will stay there. As long as we got a story attached to it that seems like unfinished business, or we have a difficult time letting go because we have a judgment around it, or the fact that they should have never done that or anything of that nature, then what happens? Now, if you have a story saying, oh, it's important that this individual is in my life because they're my partner, they're my friend, they're my family, they're this or that, then what you do is you establish a cord, or what represents a cord, an attachment, and say, no matter what, I have to hold on. And so you want to look at it and say, well, you don't have to hold on to anybody. Okay? See, the thing is, it's not about attaching yourself to anybody. You go to be yourself, 100%, and let each individual be themselves, and then whatever interaction will come about. This even applies to partners. It's not about having conditions, expectations, or attachment to people. It's about letting them be them, you be you, and let, say, love or energies of sort, and I'm not talking about the ego love, which is very sticky, and attachments and whatever else. We're talking about genuine love. You have that, whatever. So the two come together because it's a pull for both. And it is automatic without having a cord that you have to reel in and bring in because they have to be in your life. That does not come into play. So this is your dad or your mom or whatever it is, and say, well, I have to maintain that connection to the way it was because they're my mom. Well, your mom is just another aspect of you. You played whatever role. You let mom free. And then whatever the relationship will be. Whatever interaction will serve. Because the moment you cut this cord, not only are you freeing yourself, you're also freeing the other partner, but then the more real you can play out, and the more real them can play out. It's no longer restricted, because what happens? When you have chords, chords also has instructions. And the instruction says, I'll play this role for you, you play this role for me, and we have to maintain it because you need me, I need you, and so forth, and we're going to continue playing the old role. When you cut this, then the role is no longer fixed. Then it's whatever. It's open. If there are roles, or if they're not. There's no specific nature of the roles. It's open. It's open. It's not like you got to do this, I got to do that for you. There's not an exchange. It's just a providing as you feel so, without an expectation, without a sense of responsibility or anything of that nature. It's open. So the thing is, when you do the process, and what I say about the process, anyone that you feel that you're attached to or connected to, acknowledge that connection, acknowledge what exists. You can even acknowledge how it represents to you, how it feels to you, or whatever it is. You can easily acknowledge all parts of that. And be okay how it, acknowledge it. Go into that state of appreciation and love. And then you can let them free. What's the saying? Let them free, and if they come back?
Set it free. If it comes back, it was yours. If it doesn't come back.
Can you say it on the mic there? Because I'm not going to be able to repeat it as well as you do.
I think this is how it goes. If you love something, you set it free. If it comes back, it was meant to come back. If it doesn't, it wasn't meant to be yours.
Yeah.
Something along those
so
lines.
the expanded version is, true love lets everything be free. So you're setting free everyone. Nobody's attached to you. You set them free. And all the ones that need to be there, that feel drawn to you and you're drawn to them, will come without any attachments and without a time sequence, or saying it has to be for a lifetime, or it has to be for a week, a month, a year, whatever it is. There is no time applied. It can come and go. You're changing constantly. You're expanding consciously. Your vibration is expanding constantly. And the thing is, there's going to be alignments and disalignments at all times. So there's a movement. It's like the breath. You're never going to breathe the same air, because it becomes, you're not going to be able to flourish. So the point is, you allow a beautiful dance and a movement around. Now, some will last longer periods because they're both growing, their vibrations are complementary for a long period of time, and in a lot of cases it's not. I'm sure many of you have seen people are coming and going in each other's lives, and it doesn't matter if we're not even talking about partnerships. We're talking about also family and siblings and your children, and and then of course we get into the friendships, and even career side of things, people that you played with before. They have to be fluid. So the key is to really move with life. You give life to you and navigate with the life within you, and everything around you will be stimulated without any effort. Okay? Because right now, if you're going to look at and say, well, I got to give life attention, focus, or whatever it is to something, then you're giving it life, and then it's going to feed you. So you're basically getting a feedback. So wherever you're putting that is giving you a feedback, and that feedback will actually solidify, or in this case, enhance whatever that experience may be at the time. So this is what we need to understand. Is that clear as mud?
No, it's good.
Okay. So the real you, allowing everybody to be the real them. Now, to relate it to what's going on right now. There's so much going on. Politically, amongst people, amongst what is being shared, whatever is being put the focus on of what's really going on and all this stuff that's going on. And there's a lot right now. Why now so powerfully? Well, we're going through what we call disclosure. The disclosure is nothing more than bringing forth what's always been there and just becoming more prevalent, so that instead of us not seeing what we've been giving life to or focus to, we can see it, and then we can go into our true state and choose if we're going to give it more power or we want to play there. Now, we're going to, like I say, we're receiving a lot of inputs, we're receiving a lot of options, not only options, but offerings of sort of whatever's playing out. But it's up to us to say, okay, does this fit in? Do I want to take any part of it? How long do I want to play with it? And it can come and go, because that's the way it is. It comes and goes, right? So right now, if you're going to put a lot of energy around the projected illusionary fear that's being put up, because every fear is illusionary, the whole world is illusionary in a sense, because this is just a holographic projection, it's a light show, it's a movie, it's a video game, whatever you want to call it, it's a combination of all of that. So the thing is, yeah, you want to create a certain level of realism because that makes it feel good and makes us really get the full sensorial component of what we came here to play in the first place with. But at the same time, for us to attach to whatever is being presented, because you have to understand, all of this stuff that's being presented is all of the old stuff. Everything that was constructed originally from the inverted matrix, where everything was backwards. What was real is shown as false. What was false is made real. There's many, many constructed perceptions of how things are, including science, including spirituality, including way of life. Even our basic nature is not accurate. The basic nature is within us. We know what that is, but we've been exposed to and been offered skewed versions of it. Now, do we judge any of that? No. We see it as perfection. We see it as how it served us. It was beautiful. It was amazing. But at the same time, when we look at it, all of that stuff, and say, I want to access the true essence of myself, and really the makeup, the true makeup of not only the human experience, but the world design, the way it really functions. What is the true nature? What is the true and to also connect with that, what your role is, to step into your role in the more refined, real, highest version of yourself, rather than the other multiple versions of yourself. Now, like I was saying earlier, if you're looking at the old version of yourself, oh, I used to be this, and I used to like that, or I used to have this relationship, I had this friendship, I had this skill set, or whatever it is, those were older versions that suited at that time for that particular experience. So the thing is, you're not going to give life or energy or realism to any of that. That was what it was. What is now. Yeah, as much as I look at even my life and say, well, I used to do engineering work before. I used to, run companies and whatever else. That was a long time ago, but at the same time, is that me anymore? No, it changed completely. This is what I do now. But this feels aligned right now. It's also growing at about a rapid pace in the sense of access and what we can share and play with and so forth. And then we get to see all the things, all the amazing things that are playing out in the world right now. So it's a matter of, yeah, whatever it was. It was great. Who was involved? What happened, didn't happen, doesn't matter. That was all good because those were enriching experiences. Did it make me who I am? In a way, it helped me to understand what I'm sharing, not the information so much, but where we're coming from. But at the same time, this part, now that's being shared, is actually overriding it. Can any of us see ourselves going back and doing what we used to do? You can try it. You can experience it if you choose to do so. And you can see how it's going to feel. It's not going to match you because you are no longer that. You're not going to be able to give life to that older version of yourself because things have changed. And like I said, the energies are changing, the codes are changing, everything is changing. So for you to construct that, you really have to go through a challenge of adjusting yourself to that older version, and that older version will feel so unnatural and unsustainable that you will automatically default. And this is what's happening right now. Many people are giving life to older versions of themselves and whatever's being reflected as one of the screens, but at the same time, the reason you feel all of that you're feeling at this point, the discomfort or whatever it is because those are not to be relived within yourself. You're not to give life to that anymore. You're giving life to the most current version of yourself. And that's the difference right there. Okay. Anything I missed out? All right. So I can start with my list here?
Yeah.
I don't have many today. All right. Oops. What's that?
You may have covered some.
I probably covered a lot of it. Okay. So many get caught up. So let's take this out. Many get caught up and have issues with their personal and collective reality. Many of us are looking at our life and have an issue with this. Have an issue how we are. We have an issue where we're at. We have an issue with what we need to deal with. And what's the issue about? Could it be that we're not feeling aligned to it anymore? Or that the fact that we feel trapped in it? Or that the fact that in some way or another, this is not something that actually is of preference or it feels natural to you? But what happens? We get caught up and have issues with their personal and collective reality. And what do I mean by that? Our personal, I pulled the wrong one up. There we go, I want to do that one first. Oops. Okay, guys. Okay, we'll go back to that one, not to throw you out. I'm going, why am I that far ahead? Right. Since we have agreed to partake in an advanced accelerated transformation and upgrade, okay, we've chosen to partake. The only reason you're listening to this, and the only reason that you even have an interest to look at something grander than what you've been experiencing up to now, the reason that you feel that it's so important for us to shift, the reason you feel that everything around us does not match us, is because you have, at one point or another, chosen and agreed upon to partake in advancing and accelerating the transformation and upgrade of what we give life to will significantly affect and experience ourselves moving forward. So you want to give life to where it actually supports you in moving forward. Okay? So you're saying, okay, this does not match anymore. What does match? And you're not looking at what already exists. Okay? You're going to look at what do I need to create? And when I say create, what do I need to envision that is a reflection of what I feel within myself? So you're not any longer looking at any of this and saying, hey, what do I need to, pull in or whatever. There's going to be some of that, but at the same time, you're now tuning into yourself, you're connecting with yourself and say, okay, the scape of what I see, the journey that I've had, where I am right now is perfect. But at the same time, I'm now going to create further alignment and enhancement in my experience. So you're going to now use your creative ability. You're not going to try to manifest or bring in what already exists. You're going to create something brand new, because that's our true nature. Our true nature is creator, not manifestors. We can use manifestation temporarily if we need certain experience, and we've all done it. We have manifested things that other people have manifested, what the collective has been projecting. We have we've been involved with many, many, many levels of manifestation. But at this point in time, we've really stepped into the creator part. And so you're now creating something brand new, more advanced, that is the truest expression of who you are now. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, because tomorrow doesn't exist until you create that part. So it doesn't matter. So you've chosen to advance and accelerate the transformation and experience the upgrade. This is the reason. See, what we give life to will significantly affect how we experience ourselves moving forward. How many people say, I want change in my life? And then find a difficult time to make the changes. Well, really, if you're connecting with yourself and you're envisioning it, then you start putting the pieces together. And then you will notice you would take huger leaps. Now, many of you made shifts in your life already. Okay? You may still have a few chords, you may still have some anchors, you still may have certain memories of the old and emotions and whatever else at some point or another that's still lingering it to some degree, which you're now going to all acknowledge, all appreciate, all love, and then not to say, I got to get rid of this. No, you send it off. I love you. Thank you. It's no longer of service. That's okay. You're not going to have any judgment or anything of that nature, because or else it becomes sticky. Then all those little ties hang on. Okay? Because this will affect you moving forward. You're choosing to move forward in a powerful way. So basically, at this point in time, you want to look at, where am I putting my focus on? Where am I giving life to? Could it be family? Could it be career? Could it be this and that? Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's just played on your terms. You're basically stepping into those realities, those playgrounds in your true state. So, it is important to note that nothing becomes a reality for us to experience and play with until we give it life. We give it the realism. Make it real. Regardless how we may look at it on the surface. Our mind would say, no, look, it's all over around us. If you really look at it, and I know this may be a little hard to process, but that's okay. We just let it do its thing. There's nothing around us. We're in just a field of energy and consciousness. The matrix is the basic operating system for this creational screen movie that we're playing in. Okay? There's nothing out there. But we, yes, of course, came in, conditioned and programmed to some degree to be able to see this and to connect ourselves to a matrix. It used to be the inverted matrix. Now we're connecting to the organic matrix. And the organic matrix, of course, is very flexible, will work with us until, we can totally expose and use the full force or the full operating system of the organic matrix. So, the inverted matrix is gone in the sense it's no longer transmitting. We may still be living it while using the organic one while we go through this transitional component. But for us, we're the ones that make it real and experience it and play with it. Until we do that, it doesn't become real. Just, you can notice around. Some people make real what's going on. To the point, it's so real for them, they may have really powerful emotional charges. Could be fear, could be reaction, could be anything. Could totally shape their life around what's going on. Look at what's happening right now. There's a lot of different projections about to be afraid of this virus, whatever it is at this point in time. Guess what happens? If we accept the level of realism, we start building around that. We actually give it life. And it now can plug in for us. But it's us that allows it to plug in. So you say, okay, well, it's there, it's fine, that's an option. I'm not choosing it. It doesn't even feel resonant. No matter what, you do life on your terms, and it doesn't affect you at that point in time, because that is not something that you're plugging in. So you're not making it real, you're not giving it life so that you internalize that life. within yourself. So unless you make it real, it's not real, regardless how it looks on the surface. Because the mind's going to say, oh, no, 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 we got to pay attention to everything that's going on because it's real. It's real. There's this horrible thing out there, and it's going to get us. We got to be careful. We got to wash our hands 5,000 times. We got to wear triple masks, and we have to, get tested every 15 minutes or whatever. I'm just making all this stuff up or bringing it up to the next level. That's just one part. Or the fact we got to pay attention to what the media is saying, whatever it is, because we have to be prepared for a disaster, prepared for that. Until you do that, or any part of that, it doesn't become real and you're not giving it life. So in fact, it's like I live in my world. Is it like I live in my bubble? No. You live in your reality, your own constructed reality. That constructed reality is not an isolation, it's within it all. But everything shapes around you to match it. But you're also, that matching is also streaming out throughout the whole world. And it is very instrumental to really advance things in a powerful way. Realities are either manifested or created to achieve a specific opportunity or specific opportunities for expansion and advancement. So anything that we create or manifest, now manifestation, yeah, it still serves, absolutely. Creation serves at the next level, and that many of us are ready for that. You could say, well, I can bring in bits and pieces of that into my reality, but I'm going to expand it. So I'm going to say, well, this is the script, but I'm going to add to that script. I'm going to let it grow, whatever it is, because it has to reflect the most powerful part of it. So anything that we manifest or create achieves us the opportunity to expansion and advancement. It's not about crucifying you or keeping you stuck or the fact that, you have a price to pay or anything, but it has nothing to do with that. You have to see everything as an opportunity for growth and advancement. This is why your spirit in form, or what looks like form, as this holographic. Spirit is source in creation. The only reason you plugged yourself here, and it doesn't matter if you're referring to the body, it doesn't matter if you're referring to the human entity, which is the earthbound soul, or you're talking about the multidimensional soul, or the mind, which is outside of the body in a sense, because it is the field of your own creation at this point in time. You have the brain, but you also have the mind. The mind is actually part of the operating system that interacts with the matrix and everything else. So when we're looking at that, when we're going into, the thing is, it's not about any of that other stuff. It's about advancement and growth, because you are creating opportunities not only to experience yourself, but also to experience your capacities to create multiple experiences, enriched experience. Let's call it that, enriched experience. Because every experience that you create enhances you, and it enhances the whole, because we're all one. So anything that you're experiencing is, to some degree or another, regardless how it is reflected, is, how can I say, enhancing all aspects of you, say in this playground and all the different layers of playground extending it. So remember when we were talking about the movies. If you're tuned in to, say, the movie that was here, the movie that was here, might as well move this over a bit. If you are tuning in to, say, this movie right here, when you're interacting with this movie, what you see, how you shape it, how you represent the highest aspect of you, will alter this movie. But not only alter the movie, it will alter all versions of you, meaning all other participants that are in that sequence of the movie. So you could say, but at the same time, you're not going to stop yourself here before going here because, oh, I got to do something here. You're going to stay here until it feels natural, and then you're going to go there because you're going to shift along the way. And each of these layers that you now connect with, you're learning from, you're expanding, you're playing in that realm, but you're enhancing all of those realms. So it's back to the analogy of going to the movies. You go into the movies, but the movie is not stagnant. It's not written totally. It's showing you what's been written, but the fact that you're observing it and you're changing the way you see the movie, the understanding of the movie, you're actually changing everybody else that's watching the movie, and it starts to alter the movie, which is something that you can't do in the other movie so much, but you can, because you will still see the version that matches you. Some people may be in fear, other people may be in excitement, other people may see as a challenge, whatever they may choose to see from that same movie. But at the same time, you are affecting all versions of yourself observing that movie and interacting in the movie. All right. Okay, let's bring this other one in. Let's put it over there. I'll move that out of the way. Okay, so back to where we were before. Many get caught up and have issues with their personal and collective reality. How many of us are judging our reality, are getting caught up in the fact that we feel stuck, we feel that everything is imposed on us, that we have certain individuals playing in our life that are making our life miserable, making our life limited, making our life not be the way I desire it or design it, or the fact that everything else that's being reflected within ourselves. And we get caught up in that. We get caught up with those, what we call issues, just to use it as a name, get caught up in those dances or experiences or whatever it is that is not only playing out in our own personal life, but certain other individuals that are playing with us, and then the collective reality. Looking at the world and saying, oh my God, look at the world. How could you flourish when the world is going to hell in a handbasket? When it's on fire, when there's all these so-called crazy versions of myself that are playing and stimulating more than ever that inverted matrix, that is putting so much energy, so much focus on that. How can we move through it? We watch the media and it's showing these characters playing out these roles, and that makes absolutely no sense. And you're looking at it and go, how are we going to progress with all these crazies there, or whatever it is? I'm just using descriptive words here because this is how we relate to it, so we can identify with that. And we're looking at it and we have an issue with it. We get caught up in it. We get lost in the thing and feel that in some way we have no power. That in fact that we are at the mercy of the movie, the collective reality. We're at the mercy of other people. We're at the mercy of our own situation, wherever that is. Could be a health issue, could be emotional issues, could be old memories, or it could be the fact that we identified ourselves to be good, not good, whatever. So while we're getting caught up there, we're not realizing that we are directly involved in creating it and keeping it alive. Where we put our focus and attention to, and where we create a certain level of a realism, we're making it, we're giving it life, and that life is reflected to us. So we're making the movie, and the movie is presented to us, and then it only stimulates us to go back and forth until you realize, hey, it's just a movie, and I'm not going to put focus on what was or what is being reflected. I'm going to put focus on what I see from internal, from my higher aspect, as, if you were on the last episode, as I am Source. I am the spirit of creation of Source. I am the creator. I am the my own creation. I am the observer of creation. I won't cover the rest of it, but that's already. So when you're looking at that, okay, doesn't matter what's out there. I'm stepping into that state. And in that state, if you repeat those words to yourself numerous of times along the way, you will notice that no longer that what you get caught up with dissolves, and then you realize more than ever that you're creating it and keeping it alive. But what's more important? You see that I can change it. I can shape any part of it. I can turn off, turn off, turn off and turn on. I can modify. I can have it more brilliant or less brilliant in the sense of how it shows up. I can, yes, call in different, and you call in by just your state, call in different playmates that will match me, more of where I'm at. And if I need to have a complete contrast for a short period of time, I do so. You see yourself as that. You see yourself as the creator. You're the one that gives life to anything and everything. And that's how it plays out. So you come to that, so you realize that. You're the one. And that's not, okay, what happens is a lot of times when I say something of that nature, that you're your own creator, then the ego will turn around and say, see, you're a terrible creator. Oh yeah, you should feel bad because look at what you created in your life. Look at what you've done all these years. Look at where you are right this moment. That's just the ego's way to distract you. You can acknowledge it. Oh, thank you, ego. I got you. I thank you for your 2 cents, 5 cents, 10 cents, whatever. I appreciate it. I love you. But hey, we're not going there. Thank you. I set you free. I set you free with love. Not because you want to fight with it. You set it free. Then what happens? You go into that state where you can create. Realizing, hey, wait a minute here. I have full capacities to change any part of it. Completely. You're not bound by it in any way, shape, or form. And this is a powerful realization. So the exercise you can do with yourself, you look at your life and say, okay, this is a really amazing creation. Let me see what resonates and what doesn't resonate. Now, sometimes what resonates, doesn't resonate, can get skewed because if you have a judgment around it, that's not so much resonating. That is more having a judgment about it, having an issue with it. You want to move out of that. You acknowledge the issue, you acknowledge what's playing out, and then you can let that part go, the acknowledging, the thanking, loving, and then let it free. And then you're basically stepping into that pure state so that you're no longer seeing what's there as good, bad, right, wrong. You're just allowing it. Okay, this is a creation, that's beautiful. Let's move through this. Move it because I just feel so totally ready to create something new. And there's nothing to hold you back because as long as you have a judgment about what's already existing, it kind of becomes like this heavy baggage that you carry. So many may feel that the collective reality is out of their control. And it controls them when it's only an illusionary idea. That's quite a mouthful there, or a statement. Many of us feel that the collective reality is out of your control. You can look at it that way. Because, as I was saying, there are multiple collective realities. And there are cluster realities. We have the choice which one we interact with and which one we supplement or modify. So it's an illusion that we do not play with the collective reality or that we have no control over it. And that in fact it has control over us because a lot of us feel that whatever is in the collective reality dictates my experience, dictates what I can or cannot do. It dictates where my focus is going to go. It dictates if I'm going to be free or if I'm going to be imprisoned. You can be anywhere, no matter what. when you're in that state of true feeling of freedom, then you're basically in a reality that doesn't matter what the collective is showing. It's not there for you. It's not real. There's no life to it. It's just a background screen. It is just there playing around you, and you're invisible to them, and they're not in brilliant color in front of you. They're just kind of whatever there is. So it's the same thing, you know, you go out in the world and a lot of people are all concerned about whatever it is, and you're just there. But you're not giving power to it. You're not getting lost in it. You just allow it, let every other aspect of yourself play whatever it is. But as you feel most whole with yourself, it's already creating a modification around that. So it is an illusionary idea that we were sold on. We've known from the beginning. Our true nature knows this is just a movie. This is just an illusionary concept of what it is. That we have no control. This is your construct, your movie. Yes, you came in with the existing matrix. Yes, you came in with other aspects of yourself. But you came in here to really design something completely brand new. You didn't come here to get lost in it. Yes, you have adopted the idea to get lost for it for a while, to get a taste of it and a certain amount of experience by it, but now you're outside of that. So it's essential to realize without our involvement, reality does not exist and cannot be maintained. If we don't get involved, if we are not here to see it and give it life, then what is it going to be? It cannot exist. Not for us. It can exist for other people, other aspects of ourselves, but it doesn't exist for us. But the us is you, and we've all created the idea or held on to the idea and shaped the idea that everything around us, okay, exists a certain way. So as much as there are other aspects of yourself that reinforce these different movies, when you're stepping into it, you're the one, the only one that can make those movies part of yours, part of your experience. You have the choice which one you want to experience, and also to modify any of those experiences or to create completely brand new. And this is why the creation part, the envisioning part of going into imagination from a heart sense, from a true sense, and using that to create different layers of reality that supersedes anything that we've played up to this point in time. So, Miss Kimberly, is there anything I haven't covered that I need to cover? Any questions, concerns?
One question, but it was early on that,
Okay.
that we'd add in after.
All right.
Okay, this question was from Jane. She asked it at some point. Can you talk about how we can connect to the consciousness of those that would promote freedom if we can come in numbers of people saying no to this nonsense in a neutral state rather than in protesting physically in numbers? There is power in the many, and if en masse we say no, then we cannot be stopped. Everything shifts, correct?
Yes, absolutely. The thing is, everything that exists right now is because there's an agreement for it to exist. Now, why would it exist one way versus another way? Because there's many aspects of ourselves that feel that that is necessary for us to not only complete certain things, but to create enough polarity. And this is the thing. If you really look at the world right now, what is on the screen, let's call it that. What we see on the screen is massive polarity, massive illumination with layers and layers of the operating system. You can see the malfunctionality and also the intent of the role players. Why is that? It's because we want to see it. We want to see what we were not seeing before, so that we can now see what's there and take an active role to change it. So for us to connect without taking a demonstration or something of that nature, you can connect by just going into a altered state, or in this case, a meditative state, and you can call in. I choose to align with all aspects of myself on this playground that sees that playing this old game of polarity, fear, and restriction is no longer of service. I connect with that. And then see yourself, feel yourself connecting, because they're all over the world. And there are more participants stepping into it now than ever before. There are more and more people that are what we call awakening. And what is that? They're going into more of an observer state, get to see what's really there. And so they're going from that illusionary dream state where they bought into everything that was being projected in that inverted world, to a world where, oh, now we can see what's behind the curtain. Great, what I've created, so much power that I was seeing on the screen, now I can see what the motive is around that. And so then you can go with great love. So once you've connected, go with great love and feel the love for the movie, the love, when I say movie, the world, the love for all the participants, and really from a heartfelt state, and say, this is how we align to choose to see the world, where we are no longer sporting this, but you're not going into that. You're already seeing that world for us uniting. And the moment you're seeing that, you're uniting with other matching frequencies, matching states of ourselves, and then see the world where there is none of these restrictions. You know, imagining, you know, like before, we would hug people, the people that felt like they wanted to hug. Look at how powerful it is when we come together. I mean, I'm doing this right now, live stream. I have my lovely sweetheart over here. I have the camera in front of me. I can sense you guys, I feel you guys, I can connect with you guys. That's great. And I can connect with also the people that haven't even watched it yet, will at some point. But it's so much more amazing when people are in front of me. And when I'm connecting with them, when I'm hugging them, when we're sharing with one another, where we're feeling each other, that level of intimacy, and I don't mean intimacy in how it's been skewed sexually and otherwise, intimacy of meeting another facet of yourself, and just be able to, like, I know with myself, I'm a huggy person. So for me to be able to hug and to feel that beautiful energy involved, it's amazing. And all of us in our true nature loves that, because we want to connect with others. So you can envision that with your connection, where there are no more, you know, the police and the control structures and so forth, where, you know, even if they are dressed in police, they're actually taking off. You see them taking off the armor, and they're taking off all the weaponry or whatever else, the helmets and whatever else, and be able to just open up their arms and hug you, and you hug them, and feeling the love for each other, the love of each other's representation of you. Okay? So see yourself creating a world where we're no longer separated, where we are no longer trying to kill each other, or take advantage of each other, or trying to play very polarized roles to each other. See where we are collaborating, feeling that beautiful natural connection with one another, feeling where, hey, let's work together, let's create an environment where we can all have fun, where we can all feel free, where we have whatever is necessary and beneficial, without saying, well, it has to look the way it used to look. You know, it's not like, okay, we all have to have money, we all have to have stuff. It's not about that. It's about creating an environment where, if it basically serves in one way or another, through bridging or the fact of serving, then see yourself having whatever access you require, but no attachment to the access, no attachment to the story that it may come with it the way it used to be before. So to be able to see that, so you can connect sending out the intention, I choose now to connect with all aspects of myself throughout this world and some outside of this world that are ready to see this world and then start seeing your world. And while you're doing that, you're going to also see others transmitting their version of it, which will only match more closely to what you and seem even more supportive and plausible because of the fact that it's going out and coming back with what we can call like-minded people. But there are people all over the world that already see and feel that, but haven't been able to actualize it. But the thing is, you're connecting with them, and by connecting with them, you're able to synchronize with each other and support each other and to create a coherent energy throughout the whole world. And you can imagine how powerful that will be compared to just one individual. So you can call that in, and that's how you can create. But allow your imagination to go beyond what we've experienced this far. You know, I know a lot of people, I say, well, you know, we have to go through all these stages. You know, we've put a lot of power on money and a lot of power on power and control. We still have a lot of polarity. We still have a lot of corruption. We have a lot of manipulation. We have a lot of these secret societies, or whatever it is you want to call it. Yeah, but that only exists because we're still giving it attention and power and life. But at this point, if you give life to that, it will start to dissolve that. Even if it may not be so instantaneously at this point in time, you just keep sending that. One of the things I've noticed that a lot of the underground stuff that was happening out before, the very lower vibrational frequency, when I say underground, I'm saying the part that you could not see, that has been coming more to the surface. And as much as it's trying to attach to people playing older frequencies, but because of all the frequencies that the Gaia is providing, and all of us that are at higher frequencies and are increasing our frequencies at this point, is making it more and more untangible for them to stay, so they're leaving anyways. And when I say leaving, they're going into more of that frequency that may support them, but at the same time, that frequency is really nowhere, so they're basically choosing, they have to go through the transformational part to go into that higher vibration and become part of this evolutionary, advanced, expanding state of creation. And that's what's happening. So a lot of the polarity stuff will dissolve. So because polarity is polarity, the light and dark are still polarities. So it's basically bringing it into that neutrality, 0 point, oneness energy. Now oneness, what it means is that we recognize that we're all one. We recognize that all creation involves all aspects of ourselves, and that we work together to do so, because each one of us carries a piece of the puzzle. Each piece of the puzzle enhances the whole. That's what the realization. It's no longer because we've played the game of separation, the game where it's you and them, and and each one is trying to survive. Each one is trying to gain power over the other and all of that stuff. That was all of that inverted stuff, the inverted matrix, inverted 3D, 2D state of being. But that's not our true nature at this point. Was there anything else, Miss Kimberly?
That's it. There's no more questions.
No more questions. Anything you would like to share that I missed out on, or I should enhance on, or expand on?
Did a fine job, honey.
Okay. So, my wrap-up. I may not have to draw, so I'm going to give my hands a rest here. My wrap-up is, put time and energy in connecting with yourself and connecting with others. And when I say you can do it in that altered state version, but at the same time, you may have the opportunity at different states to connect with other like-minded people, like what we're doing right now online, but even connecting with others around in your life. It's interesting how when we start to shift, okay, let me give you some examples really quickly. And you probably have experienced it yourself, so you can put your 2 cents in it. When you start being much more yourself, and you start to communicate at a higher level, which is less reflective of all the other stuff, you will notice certain participants start to open up too. Certain participants, people that you never imagined would be open to certain conversations or open to question things, all of a sudden saying, yeah, I've been noticing that too, and what do you make of it, and so forth. And then there's another level of communication that's established. Because what you're doing is you're activating that higher version that's been kind of squelched. Is that the right word? Squelched? Okay. Squelched in themselves, but now you're offering, by just your energy and your communication, them to bring that part up and get rid of the other part of it, or at least put it down in a dormant state and be able to communicate. Because those type of communication will also advance them. I've seen it over the years. And I see it now more than ever. More and more people, even the ones that you didn't think would ever get, make a shift in themselves, do so. And sometimes they make a shift and then they go backwards too, but that's just temporarily anyways, and it's really up to them. But at the same time, allowing yourself to be yourself, you're going to find more alignments with certain individuals, and some will not. Some choose to play wherever they are, and you just let them be. Let them be, let them free. I think that's the way the statement is. Let them be, let them free, right? Yes, and if they come back and then they connect, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's good, honey.
That's good, okay. So, whatever you see in the world, see it as part of the transition. See it's the old being accentuated so that it can be utilized and it starts to dissolve. Because you can notice the stability is breaking down. You can see how a lot of things are being challenged. You see how all of this intensity is awakening, stimulating a lot of people to say, okay, I don't think that this is how we should focus on living our life. So this is all instrumental. All of it is very, very powerful for us at this point, for us to really take huge leaps. So if you see yourself getting caught up in anything that you're observing, then you're giving it life. You say, oh, okay, that's what I'm doing. What's so appealing for me? What's coming up for me? Whatever it is. And make sure you write it all down. And then when you're doing it, you acknowledge it, appreciate it, love it, let it free. Let it go with ease and light, ease and love, really. That's how it goes. You were going to say something? Nope? Okay. So that's that. Thank you again for coming together. Thank you again for playing. Just pay attention to what you give life to, what you give realism to, what actually plays out with you. Be free to go into the areas that you feel most resonant with you. Resonant with you. So, thank you again for coming together. Please share this far and wide so that we reach more people, give them the opportunity to be exposed to it, whatever it provides them. If this all that's being shared, you would like to see more of it and it resonates for you and you feel really from your heart to contribute, we have a link to contribute and support us, so we focus on this. If you've noticed, and maybe you have not, but in the link of the description you will find there's also a link to my podcast. I am putting the podcast out daily now again, and there will be also some live podcasts that will be kicked in here and there as we move along. So they're shorter and they are more focused on certain topics. I will also address people's questions. Some of the lives will address the questions. If I set it up in such a fashion, you may be able to join in the sense where you can ask the questions live and whatever else. We're providing as much as possible for you to be able to use these tools, this stuff to trigger the memory within yourself, to really expand yourself so that we can move together in a powerful way. Also, we have the link for you to be able to access any of the workshops that we have. I know that we're working on another workshop coming up later on this month, if everything aligns perfectly. If not, it'll be the first week of March. but right now we're aiming for this month. And at the same time, yes, so thank you for the contribution part. And there was one thing else I wanted to say. The podcast, whatever. Was there anything else?
I just wanted to share that on Friday you'll be doing a show with Todd Medina at 5 p.m. EST.
Is it Friday or Thursday? I think it's Thursday.
Friday on your calendar, honey. So the 12th, which is Friday.
Okay, so Friday.
Yeah. So that, I mean, I'll send out an email too, but in case you're not on our mailing list, just to let you folks know that are already there, that he'll be with Todd on Friday at 5.
Yeah, we get to play with Todd Medina in zoology.
Yep.
And be able to, we always have some interesting discussions.
Yes, they're always good.
Stuff comes up. And I did a recording on Monday. What day is today? Tuesday?
Today's Tuesday.
Tuesday, okay. So that was yesterday, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So yesterday I did a recording in Empowered Health, which is Empowered Mind and so forth, which I will be also posting once the video audio recording is available. It will be available in podcast format, so it will be audio only, but I'm also posting it in video audio version of it. I just have to kind of do the processing part. And we got to talk about different topics and so forth. Each of these conversations I have with people, it kind of focuses in different directions. These are just tools for you to use for yourself. And that's it. So unless there's anything else,
I don't think so.
go out and play, have a blast, and we'll see you again very soon.